If you are thinking about dating again after abuse, I need you to hear this before you download another app, before you say yes to another drink, before you tell yourself you're just being open, because the thing that will pull you back into another version of the same story will not look like danger. It will look like chemistry, it will feel familiar, and it will sound like something inside of you saying, this makes sense, even when nothing about it actually does. Most women do not repeat patterns because they want to. They repeat them because their nervous system learned love inside of instability and is still calibrated to recognize the state as meaningful. That does not mean you're broken. It means your body learned faster than your mind ever had a chance to intervene. Dating after abuse is not about finding somebody better. It is about unlearning what your system thinks connection requires. And no one tells you that part, right? They tell you to trust your gut, set the standard, take it slow, love yourself more. But none of that will actually help when attraction is activated before discernment enters the room. This episode is not about giving you rules. It's about giving you orientation, because if you do not understand what actually drives attraction after abuse, you will keep thinking you're choosing wrong when what's really happening is that your body is choosing first. These are the 5 truths that you need to understand before you date again. Not later, not once you're already attached, now. I'm Meaghan Webster. I'm an abuse recovery coach, a trauma-informed strategist, and the woman a narcissist hopes to never meet twice. This is the Narcissist's Worst Nightmare podcast, where survival ends, shadow becomes power, and you rise as a woman who cannot be manipulated, magnetized, or replaced. I am sharing 5 truths with you that you need to know before you start dating again after abuse. This is not surface level advice, not red flags you can Google. These are the truths that explain why healed women still end up confused, why standards collapse under chemistry, and what actually stops the cycle instead of you just naming it. Truth number 1, your attraction will lie to you before your discernment catches up. After abuse, attraction is not a preference, it's a reflex. It fires before thought, before values, and before intentions. That doesn't make you naive. It means your nervous system learned what love felt like before you ever had the language for it, and those lessons still live in the body long after the relationship ends. If attraction had taste, half of your past would have come with a warning label you ignored because it felt familiar. Attraction becomes misleading because it is based on recognition, not suitability. Your system scans for emotional signatures it already understands how to survive. That recognition can feel like familiarity, ease, intensity, or depth, even when the actual behavior does not support safety or reciprocity. This is why attraction often spikes around people who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or subtly destabilizing. Your body recognizes the rhythm and responds automatically. The danger is not attraction itself. It's assuming attraction carries information about alignment. When attraction leads, discernment gets dragged behind it. Standards feel negotiable. Red flags get reframed as complexity. You find yourself explaining feelings you didn't need to justify before attraction entered the room. This is where women start questioning their healing. They assume something must be wrong because their attraction doesn't match their values. Nothing is wrong. Attraction simply hasn't been retrained yet. Discernment takes practice inside of activation, not outside of it. And attraction after abuse is not a green light. It's a moment to slow down and observe instead of interpret. Attraction isn't evidence of alignment, it's evidence of the conditioning you have not interrupted yet. Your second truth is being single healed does not mean you're relationship ready. Healing in solitude stabilizes one layer of the nervous system, but dating activates another. This is the part that no one explains to you, and it's why so many women feel blindsided by their reactions once they start dating again. Being alone does not activate attachment, dating does. It brings proximity, desire, pacing, vulnerability, and power dynamics back online. That activation does not mean you've regressed. It means your system is being tested in a context it hasn't practiced yet. I've had clients often say they felt grounded, confident, and regulated before dating, but then they become anxious, unsure, or activated once they start engaging again. They assume the healing work that they tried has failed. In reality, the healing did work exactly as it should. It created enough safety for the system to reveal what still needed integration. Healing alone proves you can survive yourself. Dating exposes whether you'll abandon yourself the moment a connection is on the line. Relationship readiness is not about how calm you feel alone. It's about how you respond when connection introduces uncertainty, desire, and risk again. And without practice in that environment, insight or awareness is not enough to hold new behavior. This is why dating after abuse feels disorienting. You're not broken, you're applying healing to a new terrain. If peace disappears the second somebody gets close, the work isn't finished yet. It's an untested theory. I have a funny story to share with you about this. There are a lot of things that I love about my boyfriend and my relationship, specifically that we are healing together and we do share very transparently about it, like the scars, right? I had a really emotional day. I don't remember the exact circumstance, but something had happened with my ex-husband, which was a bit of a trigger for me, and I felt that familiar heaviness set in. That feeling where emotions don't come as thoughts, they come as waves, and I had shared it in a message with my boyfriend. Instead of pulling away or getting weird or making it about himself, he did something that still catches me off guard in the best way. He offered space to talk, and in the same breath, he also offered me space if I didn't want to. So no pressure, just presence. And my nervous system still struggles to know exactly what to do with that, right? Like, I wanted to tell him, of course, but my old story kicked the door in immediately. If you're emotional, you're too much. If you need support, you'll get abandoned. If you let someone see this side of you, they'll decide that you're just not worth the effort. So I paced my apartment like a woman negotiating with her own brain. I talked myself off of a ledge I didn't even consciously realize I was standing on. Out loud, full internal hostage negotiation, reminding myself that this man was not my past, that this moment was not a test, and I wasn't about to be punished for having feelings. And none of that fear was related to him. It was my past relationships that taught my body connection came with a cost. So we did have a FaceTime call. I told him what was going on. I didn't soften it. I didn't hide my emotions. And you want to know what happened? Nothing dramatic or bad. There was no withdrawal, no shift, just a man who stayed present with me and met me where I was the same way he always has, with consistency, with actions, with behaviors that match the words. And those moments don't mean that I'm not healed. It means that I am actively healing in real time, because alone I can stay regulated. In connection, that old wiring, those old scars will show up. So instead of running, I choose to stay. And that's the work that people don't tend to talk about, right? It's not the absence of activation. It is the conscious choice to not obey it. Your third truth is that chemistry is not a green light, it is information. Chemistry is a sensation without context. It tells you something is happening in the body, not whether that thing is good for you. After abuse, chemistry often reflects nervous system activation rather than compatibility. Chemistry is a sensation, not a contract, and too many women have signed their nervous systems away without really reading the terms. Chemistry becomes dangerous when it's interpreted as evidence. Evidence in so many matters that something should be pursued, that depth exists before behavior confirms it. This is where standards collapse quietly, not because you forgot them, but because sensation runs the evolution. Chemistry often arrives with urgency, a sense that something needs to move forward quickly, a compressed timeline and reduced space for observation. It encourages bonding before data, and bonding without data creates the same power imbalance women have worked so hard to leave behind. Just to be clear, chemistry does not need to be eliminated, it needs to be contained. It needs pacing, structure, and time so discernment can come online alongside the sensations instead of being overridden by it. This is why dating resets matter, not because women don't know better, but because chemistry requires a system that can hold sensation without acting on it automatically. Without that structure, familiarity wins. Chemistry doesn't ask if it's good for you, it asks if it can get your attention. This is the point where most women think insight should be enough. You can name the pattern. You can see how the attraction lies. You can see where the chemistry hijacks your values. And still, in the moment, your body moves faster than your clear mind. It is not failure of willpower. That's a lack of practice under activation. This is why sacred standards exist, not as a rule, not as a restraint, as repetition and training for your nervous system to stay within itself when attraction is present instead of defaulting to familiar survival responses. It is not about becoming colder or harder. It's about becoming unavailable to the reflex that once chose you. Most women don't need more awareness. They need support while they practice choosing differently in real time when the pull is active and the old wiring wants to take over. Your fourth truth is the moment you stop overgiving, guilt is going to show up in your life. Guilt after abuse is not a moral response, it's a physiological one. It appears the moment you stop performing the role that kept you safe. Inside of abusive dynamics, responsibility was a survival strategy. Managing somebody else's emotions reduced volatility. Anticipating reactions minimized fallout. Overgiving became a way to stay oriented and protected. The role does not disappear just because the relationship ended. Guilt isn't your conscience. It's the withdrawal symptom of a role you were trained to play for other people's comfort. So when you stop over-explaining, accommodating, softening your boundaries, your nervous system interprets that as danger. Guilt rises not because you did something wrong, but because you disrupted a pattern that once reduced threat. This is why guilt shows up when you prioritize yourself, say no, leave early, or hold a standard without explanation or justification. It is not asking you to return, it is signaling that the condition is being challenged. The mistake women make is treating guilt as a cue to correct your behavior. It's a cue that retraining is happening in real time. If you respond to the guilt by abandoning yourself again, the pattern stays intact. If you stay present through guilt without reversing your decision, the nervous system learns something new. Guilt is not the enemy here. Obeying it automatically is. If choosing yourself feels wrong, it's because self-erasure used to be rewarded. I have such an amazing client experience to share with you about this, and I know it's going to hit home for a lot of people. I had a client who didn't realize it was a boundary at first. It felt very small and insignificant. A man she'd been talking to for a while made a last-minute change that required her to rush, rearrange, and show up energy depleted. And old her would have done it automatically and said, I don't mind. This time, all she said was, I'm not available for that. The silence she felt after felt louder than it should have because nothing happened. There was no argument, no guilt trip, no withdrawal, and he responded normally. But her body did not register this as a normal conversation. Her stomach dropped, her chest tightened, her mind immediately started scanning for damage. She was replaying his tone, wondering if she sounded difficult, and worried she killed the connection over something so small. She'd opened her phone to fix it, typed a follow-up message explaining herself, deleted it, typed another version that sounded softer, then deleted that. Her hands were shaking, not because she was mistreated, but because she hadn't smoothed anything over. So she sat there for a bit with her phone in her hand, waiting for the moment she would regret it, waiting for the proof that she'd ruined the relationship, but it never came. What hit her instead was realization that the panic was not about him. It was about the past version of her from her abusive marriage and trying to fix things that happened before they broke by making sure no one was uncomfortable, especially if that discomfort might land back on her. So she didn't send the message. She went to bed uneasy, not empowered, just really honest with herself. And the next morning, the urge to explain herself was gone, not replaced with excitement, but there was just nothing there. She had shared with me later that it scared her how automatic that guilt felt. That was the boundary, right? It's not the sentence she said to him. It's the fact that she chose herself in that moment to make it easier for her patterns to be acknowledged. And your fifth and final truth for today, if you do not practice your standards, you will negotiate them. Standards are not held by intention. They're held by repetition. Under pressure, the nervous system wants to do what's familiar, not what's ideal. Most women do not lose their standards because they lack self-respect. They lose them because chemistry activates old survival strategies faster than conscious values can intervene. In those moments, flexibility masquerades as openness, patience masquerades as understanding, and tolerance masquerades as growth. Negotiations happen quietly. One exception, one explanation, one delay, one moment of discomfort reframed as personal insecurity. None of these feel dramatic on their own, but together they rebuild the same dynamic that you swore you would never repeat. Standards can only remember when you're calm will vanish the moment someone activates the part of you that wants to be chosen. This is why standards need to be practiced, not declared. Practice teaches the body that safety does not depend on accommodation. It teaches the system to stay loyal under pressure instead of collapsing into familiarity. Sacred standards exist because standards must be lived while attraction is active, not rehearsed and calm. Without that practice, even the most self-aware women will find themselves negotiating with patterns she thought that she had outgrown. Standards do not protect you when you remember them. They protect you when you embody them automatically. If your standards require perfect regulation to exist, they are preferences, not protection. If this episode unsettled told you that is not a problem, it means something landed beneath your logic. Patterns don't break because they're exposed. They break because the body is given enough safety and structure to stop repeating them. Nothing you recognize today means you failed before. It means you survived long enough to see clearly now. Attraction after abuse is not a verdict on your worth, on your healing. It's feedback from a system that learned to adapt inside instability and is now being asked to relearn what safety actually feels like. You do not need to shame yourself for what still pulls at you. You do have to decide whether you're willing to stop following it automatically or not. That is the moment when your power will return to you. Now, I know after listening to this, you are done negotiating your standards the moment chemistry shows up. Sacred Standards Dating Reset is where this work becomes embodied. This is a program designed to retrain attraction, not suppress it. To teach your nervous system how to hold sensation without abandoning discernment. To stay loyal to yourself when the pull is so strong instead of explaining it away after the damage is done. The Sacred Standards 30-Day Challenge is not about dating less. It's about dating from self-trust instead of survival. If you're ready to stop calling patterns chemistry and start choosing from clarity, this is where that shift actually happens. If this episode cracks something open in you, let it. Please share this with another woman who keeps asking why she knows better but still feels pulled. Hit follow so you don't miss one. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast, where survival ends, shadow becomes power, and you rise into the woman who cannot be manipulated, magnetized, or replaced.